Hello, this is George Urbacek of CreativeBassLessons.com with a bass guitar lesson for absolute beginners. As a matter of fact, this lesson is so beginner that I won't even be playing the bass at all in this lesson. What we will be doing, however, is we'll be going through all of the parts of the bass guitar so that you can do shop talk and understand what your teacher is talking about. So let's begin with the top of the bass, which is called the head or the headstock. So that's that. On the headstock, you've got the tuning pegs, the pegs around which the strings are wrapped. Here are the strings. This is a 4-string bass guitar. On this headstock, there is a string clamp, which actually clamps down a couple of the strings, in this case 2, so that they don't jump out of the nut. The nut is this bit going across. And the reason you need a string clamp is if you have a look at this, the headstock is parallel to the neck and the fingerboard. If the headstock were slanted backwards, or just sloping back a little bit at a bit of an angle, then you wouldn't need the string clamp. The other thing that you've got on the headstock, of course, the tuning keys. So now we'll move on down. I've already mentioned the neck, which is this, and the fingerboard, which sits on top of the neck. On this particular bass, the fingerboard is the same type of wood, however, it is glued onto the neck. So it's the same type as the neck wood, but glued on. Often you'll find basses with a lighter coloured neck and a darker coloured fingerboard, which is often rosewood. Okay, on the fingerboard, you've got the frets. This is a fretted bass. You do have fretless basses where there are no frets and therefore no fret wires designating those fret spaces. Now, to something very important, we've got position markers. See, here's a dot, and holding the bass up a bit further, there's another dot and another dot. Usually they're spaced at every 2 frets. Those position markers are extremely important for us to see which position to play in or where to place the finger in case we're doing a very quick jump up or down the neck. What is more important, however, for the player of the bass is not so much the position markers on the face of the fingerboard, but on the side. If you have a look at that, your bass will probably have, just like this one, will have position markers, tiny dots on the edge of the fingerboard. They are extremely crucial because when we hold the bass, that's what we mainly see. We're looking down to the edge of the fingerboard and not actually seeing the face as much as the edge. So those position markers are really important. You'll see up here, you've got 2 position markers. That designates the center of the string length. Let's move on a little bit further now. Overall, you have the body of the bass. This particular bass has a body with a bolt-on neck. It's actually screwed on, but the standard term is a bolt-on neck. So you can see that the neck is a separate piece to the body. You do get basses where the necks are set in, they're actually glued in, and often necks that go all the way through, all the way down to the end, and you've got body wings glued onto the side. This is a traditional Fender Precision bass or P-bass setup. Now, just looking at the back, one more thing at the back here, you'll see that the strings actually are able to go through the body. This is called a string through design. The strings, they pass over this part here, which is the entire term for that, or the overall term is called the bridge, but the bridge is actually made up, let's have a look at that a little bit closer, is made up of a bridge plate, is made up of a tailpiece. The strings can either slot through the tailpiece or go through the plate to the back of the body, and then you have individual saddles. These you can adjust in lengthwise, so you can get the intonation or the trueness of pitch correct of the strings, and you can also adjust them up and down, and that will give you what is called the action height. A higher action makes an instrument harder to play because you've got to push down on the strings a bit further. A lower action makes it easier to play, and you have pluses and minuses, advantages and disadvantages of both systems. Okay, now on top here we have, this is called the scratch plate, just to avoid scratching of the body. Often you can take that off if you think it looks better without a scratch plate. What we have here are pickup combinations. This is the standard P bass or precision bass split pickup, and I've got an additional jazz bass style pickup in the back or bridge position here. Now there's just one more thing we should look at, and that is the volume and tone controls. On a bass such as this, it's meant to be quite intuitive. Usually the control that's closest to the neck end is also for the volume of the pickup that's closest to the neck. So that's volume of that pickup. This one here is volume for this pickup. So volume for the bridge pickup, the pickup that's closest to the bridge. And finally, this one here is the tone control. In this case, the tone control is simply a treble boost or treble cut, so when you cut the treble, it makes it sound more bassy. So you've got volume front pickup, volume back pickup, and the treble boost or cut. So essentially that's it with the basic tone controls. Of course, you'll get much more sophisticated tone controls than that, and you'll have to work out how they work on your bass. Another thing that you can see on this shot right now is that there's this little cavity here on this particular bass. That is the cavity to adjust the truss rod, which is actually inside of the neck, and that adjusts how straight the neck is. That's really important to have a good setup of an instrument. A good setup can make an instrument a joy to play, and it's important to be joyful when you play. Okay, just a couple of other little things you'll see here. We have the strap, which is attached to the strap pins. Oh, by the way, I almost forgot this. The input socket. On the traditional basses, you'll find the input sockets usually top-mounted, which I love and I try to get whenever I can, but this particular bass has a side-mounted input socket. Okay, let's have a look at very basic playing position now. You can see I've got the bass strapped on, and when I'm sitting down, it gives me a sort of loose strap, but when I stand up, you're looking at approximately the center of the bass going across the center of the body, which is sort of like, or the axis of the body, which is the navel. That's a good starting position. Okay, so that's important so that your right hand, or your playing hand, your picking hand in this case, this is for right-handed players, left-hand players just reverse, so that the picking hand is not too bent at the wrist. If you have your bass hanging really high, you're going to get a bent right wrist, so have it reasonably low, and so that the left hand, the fretting hand, is also not too bent. So going across the navel at least is a good starting point. You can make slight modifications from there onwards to suit your playing style. Okay, with that I will conclude this mini lesson, this introductory lesson on the parts of the bass guitar. I'll see you next time around for the actual striking hand or the playing hand positions, and of course the left hand, the fretting hand techniques. So hope you enjoyed this lesson. See you next time. Bye.